Good morning, everyone, or evening, afternoon, night, wherever you are in the world. I'm taking it a bit slower this morning, purely because, and there you go, I've got a notification already come up on the iPad. I'm still not used to how some of this technology is, which bits I'm needing to actually turn off, redirect, whatever. It all gets, well, there's lots of it, isn't there? So I'm just trying to get comfortable and I don't know how to do that. So what I might try and do, if you can bear with me. No, that was Siri. How do I get rid of that? I'll just turn the volume down. That might work. And if it doesn't, I'll have to try something else. Now, just as a heads up that Leanne isn't well today. So she hasn't been for, well, a couple of days. So she's going to be resting up. I hope, Leanne, if you are watching in the background, rest, rest, and rest. So I thought I would mention that just as a reminder, rest, rest, rest. Yeah, so there are times in life where you just have things that need to be sorted with our own health, isn't it? So what I'm doing, I'm just going to flick back to make sure there's no one sitting in my Hypnosis Plus with Ros page at the moment. If this has come to you via any reminder or notification on your mytimetv.live notifications or reminders, you're probably already in the right place because I've already got two good mornings. So hi to you, Jody, and we've got Deb here as well. So hi to you. No, that volume didn't work. I'm not sure how to, I've got the iPad Pro. I'm not quite sure how to, just found it, how to turn it off. I just found it. So that's done. Now, I've forgotten almost where, hi, Leanne. You're watching from bed and you're showing up as mytimetv.live in the comments, which is fine because you're likely on your iPad or your phone. So do keep resting up. Okay. And hi to Rachel. And whoever else is going to join in, a welcome and share out. I've still not quite picked a subject. I sort of have, because Leanne did let me know that she wasn't going to be able to be here. And so I wasn't panicking because I know that I can do the solo. I've done them before. They don't feel comfortable at first because you're actually wondering, what am I actually going to talk about? And you think, oh, I've got to be conscious of the ums so that I don't sound like I'm a raving lunatic going every second time, you know what it's like. Oh, great. Thanks, Leanne. So there we go. Leanne has shared to the page and she's as her business page there. Thanks, Leanne. One of the back end things, which I still haven't actually got the checklist done, and some of the other stuff, of course, the thing called cross-posting. Leanne knows what I'm talking about there. And it's just something that doesn't gel in my brain to find where to do it every time. And I still haven't written a little pro forma for that one as to how to find it. And good morning to you too, Glenn. So, of course, some of that stuff does go by the wayside. So at the moment, what a person would normally do when doing a live show is actually share it via cross-posting. And lately there's things called watch parties that can be started. I'm absolutely not going to attempt to do those whilst I'm doing a live, because you certainly do need somebody in the background to actually help manage those. And making sure that you've got your links correct to come back to this page. And I'm hoping that I have, so would like to know if anyone has commented and not seen that their comments aren't being listed or anything, because I have so far put every one of them up that's coming into my feed in the back end. So there's Jody's, which is Get Better Soon, Leanne, and I think we can all agree with that one. So, and that's where I was up to. That's the last one that's there. So if you haven't seen those comments in what stream you're looking at, you're on the wrong page for the commenting. As far as the source page is, the mytimetv.live needs to be that's showing up on the top of your feed in whichever way you're looking at it, whether it's the phone, whether it's a computer, desktop, laptop, whatever. iPad shows up a little bit differently, I think, again. I still haven't done a lot of the watching the lives on my iPad yet because it's a bit bigger one, the Pro, compared to what I had of the really, 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 really old number 2 type iPad. That's why I needed to upgrade. So I've actually, as part of thinking, what do I do this morning, I felt, I might see if my sister is actually in a position that she can come on with me, because I am a twin. And I know that she's okay with coming on at certain times, but probably with a bit more notice. So she couldn't join in as such at the moment. She was busy. One of her family was dropping in at the same time, basically. So I couldn't do that. But it was interesting in chatting with her just quickly before I needed to do the back end stuff of here. It was I don't know, I just sort of posed a question to her. I thought, well, actually, that's a pretty good one to use as a subject, or, as something to chat about this morning. Now, the question that cropped up, and I think I can add this as a comment. I'm not 100% sure on the agenda line. I'm just going to try and type this in. I don't know if I can. No, I can't. So I can on the right screens. Let's see if it works. Can we? Let's see if that works. Oh, whoops, show. That's the question. And I'm not sure if I can actually put myself higher in this scene being just by myself. I don't think I can. If I had a guest, I could actually be a bit higher up, and my chair is actually at the highest. So can we unlearn what we've learned? It came up yesterday. I was reminded, I suppose, in a more specific way. It was someone had rung me to ask about, and I'd been in a dream for them, and the word shaman came up. And that's where I thought, oh, wow, okay. That reminded me. I have been initiated through the Monet Key shaman initiation. So technically, I suppose if you look at how some of the systems work, that I could be called shaman. And it did bring me to actually revisiting, looking at one of the books that I used as my mainstay for that study and that work. And that's this one. And I don't know if you can see it fully. It's Shaman Healer Sage. Alberto Villoldo has written that. It's got lots of little gems, of course, because it's part of what was a training for refining, fine-tuning, awareness, and all that is, well, it's not all, because nothing ever is all around healing work, energy work, and the medicines and everything. A lot of them just really do spring from ancient practices. So that then, of course, I did bring that out to actually do a quick flip through to be able to do ceremony for a specific purpose, and what followed. It reminded me that, gee, I'm a little bit rusty with this. How can I really remember? But you do. It's something that, like I'd just put up there, is that, and I, can we unlearn what we've learned? And I'm wondering, oh yeah, I'm just going to add a couple there more. Say hi to some, Tina, and hi to Michelle. It's so wonderful in London that with the technology that we have, even though I had a tiny, weeny little bit of a glitch as I was coming into starting the live, I had just a little bit of a camera issue, but that's fine. And how, with what I've learnt even of the BeLive.tv and how to use it, how easy it actually is to use. And once you actually practice a lot of times the same thing over and over, I mean, that for most people would be what practice means, especially when you're starting to learn piano. You're learning over and over and over the same, the notes on a keyboard. I really do feel like I'm a mouse looking up over a benchy or something. You're practicing on a keyboard like that over and over and over until you get the finger positionings right for the scales, going up and down for scales, even for the flute with the positioning of fingers and how you use the mouth for a clarinet or saxophone, how you actually learn anything really. A lot of it is practice and practice and repetition. So when I was actually thinking on doing ceremony with the shaman work, is it something that you ever unlearn? Because over the years, yes, it was a long time ago that I was initiated. It was a long time ago that since I really actually continuously practiced the work, I suppose, the ceremonies, because for me, once something is more integrated, it actually becomes more of you, and that's where I find, can you really unlearn it? Because you've actually integrated it to that depth that is there. And I suppose it's why I probably dropped some of the daily practice part of the shaman work, because we're not in a society that actually honours that type of work to the degree that, for instance, the Inuits and the Bolivian, Peruvian, and that area with the Machu Picchu, the people who this originated from, when it's part of the culture and the society that you're in, it's so much easier. That is the daily practice, and that's just what is formed from habit, belief, and a true living it. Do we in our more westernised society actually honour it to the same degree? Probably not. So just trying to go through some of these comments now that I've done most of the, I think I did say hi, Dana. I'm not sure. This is where I get lost, and I know I usually have Leanne reminding me. So just bear with me. Doesn't matter. There's not a hurry to get to the end. What I'll end up be doing is what I end up chatting about, and it's something. Oh, yes. Whoops, hang on. Did I put that one up already? I did, and yes, I'm well. The next one I was putting up was the music. It's so healing. And that probably is the secondary part of really where, is it secondary? It's part of. With shaman work, there's vibration. That's what it is. It's that being in within in the other worlds and the exploration. It's the forming. It's the whole experience of being, and that's who we are. And it's why I find it interesting with that question. Can we actually unlearn what we've learned? So I can see here with Deb, oh, I really am needing to sit up a bit with this, aren't I? Phil, yes, you can unlearn what you've learnt by change of thought pattern. Now, I'm just wondering, Deb, with how you're expressing that, which actual changing of the thoughts, what method are you actually using for that? Because I have learnt to do, to help people with using hypnotherapy as a tool in helping change those patterns. There's also neuro-linguistic program, the NLP, timeline therapy, emotional freedom technique, tapping. So many different ways that we can actually change what our thoughts are, to actually change our behaviours, our responses and all that. So I'm just wondering what you actually use, Deb, as part of your process to change the thought patterns. I think that's, and is that a different thing to actually unlearning compared to just changing what your thinking is? Because I'm feeling it probably is, you can't really unlearn something you've learnt, but it is possible to do the changing of where that perspective is. Because I find, angles. When I was at school, we do the maths or whatever it was that was around angles, and even just the minutest change in that angle can change the perspective or the calculations or anything, the results from it. And I do find that the same as far as if you can change a perspective and just that slightest angle, that slightest way that you look at something, that it can change how you're seeing it, changes your view. It changes the light shining on whatever it is you're looking at. And I'm thinking of that as far as, the little torch that might be in a cave, that narrow view that you're actually getting of the light pattern shining on something else and reflecting back something else to you. So, and so really there is many different ways of being able to change how we're thinking and how we're feeling. So there, Dana, which I'm sure that Leanne has read that, because here's the next one, which is, it's great to hear that, Leanne, that you are feeling that you're on the mend. So that's good, thank you. The negative into positive. This is Deb's. Now, yeah, I'm just taking a breath on that one. I suppose for me, what I would probably feel is negative, positive. I've, over time, in how the shaman training came into my life, it was a gradual learning of what I was becoming aware of around me, not just in the psychic, the mediumship, the intuition, the sensing other stuff. It was a deeper feeling that was, well, it does tend for me to go into that soul level, because that's who we are essentially, is the soul. And I think that's where, in that process of doing the types of study that I've done over time and actually feeling into my awareness of who I am within it, that there isn't actually negatives and positives. My whole feeling around it is that it's our pathway, is our lessons that we've got here to just experience the life here on earth that the soul needs for what we plan next time over the other side, whatever that is for us. And I know that that can get into quite some deep discussions at times with various people as to, it can. It's almost as good as getting into religion and politics, which I don't really touch much on if I'm out. Not that I go out much. I tend to be a bit of a solo person most of the time anyway. So it's interacting with life as we are, because it's the only place that we can come to with our own experiences. And that's not saying that what we've got is positive or negative. It's just being in the lives that we've got. Some things that we choose to do, like making our decisions, can create what is perceived as negative or positive ways of being, I suppose, because what's a negative reaction to speeding? You get a speeding ticket, or potential for accidents and the rest. And yet I've seen time over and time over that those things that have been planned and contracted for in each person's life, just those meshings of what is happening, there seems to be the silver lining in every cloud. There's always a balance. Sometimes we just don't see it. So and here's Beth. Hi, Beth. Robin, great to see you here too. It's not as easy doing this by yourself because what do you feel about empty space, empty, silence? If I sat here in silence and just put up comments and typed them in, is it going to have the same effect as me looking to you for responses as I am now looking at the stream that I do every week? And usually who I've got there is Leanne. And it's that interaction, it's that balance of how a live that we do is actually working out. Love doing it. It's good fun. A little bit more challenging when you're doing a solo, and I haven't really set an agenda because I don't. As you know, this show, my aim in it is to actually just take what is intuitive subjects, listening to my intuition around what I feel probably is what's meant for that, the chat of the day, so to speak, because it's not all about just getting in and doing readings. Other shows are a bit like more for that, if that's where you want to have some feedback and the rest. I might be getting in and doing some as well. There's already a question there from Robin. Putting in, I'd love some guidance and reassurance. You're about to take your website to go live in the next 24 hours. That's exciting stuff, and scared to take that leap of faith to do it. And all I'm going to respond to that is just do it. One of the things that I've put in my little agenda today, which I'm going to show here, and I'm not sure how that shows. Does it show? I'm still trying to, I don't know how to do the agenda thing. Oops, no, it doesn't. It does. It would if I knew what I was doing with the back end agenda thing. So I'm just going to leave that. Effectively, what I've said is practice in real life. Making this show itself, it even takes practice. It's just doing it. Similar for absolutely everything that you do, really. We drive. Most people here probably drive a car. What does that take? It takes practice. When you first learn how to drive a car, it took practice. Presumably, actually it's not presumably these days. There's not always just, the automatic cars versus manuals. When I was a kid, which was a long time ago, you learnt in a manual. That's just how you drove. So you had to practice with your foot on the clutch first, and then you had to know how to brake and turn your motor off before we got in the car, really. And that was an old Ute hack that we had on a farm, because I grew up on a farm. So, it's all part of what we do. We first learn to walk. You first learn to talk. It all takes practice. Getting your face around the different sounds in your mouth. That's all a baby's doing. And they gurgle and do all of that. When you first learn to sing, you're actually doing the practice and the round, the sounds, and going the old brown cow or whatever the sayings are. I did do singing lessons at some point, a long time ago, just for fun, just because I wanted to, not because I thought I was a fantastic singer that was going to make myself famous. It was wanting to actually know better how to do some breathing around it and actually using the voice better. Those sorts of more formal singing lessons for me, I mean, they were fun, but it did develop and grow into a better sounding voice at times. But the one I liked most was actually when I was doing toning and creating the sounds just using the mouth, like I was just doing like exercises. You know, you go just putting your tongue in a different place and making the sound different. I don't know whether I'm going to do that here or not. As far as I think I've done it a couple of times on a live, just doing the sa sound. But you go through your alphabet. What's the alphabet? No, the vowels. You work through the vowels and start off with the A, and all I'm doing is moving my mouth, but this is still the same vowel. You get what I mean? Sounds like shit. Oh, whoops. Sounds pretty horrible, but once you actually get used to practicing and actually listening to how that's coming out, and you know, you use that as a cupping it so you can hear yourself back and all those sorts of tricks, you get to actually really hear some of those vibrations, and the creation of that can then actually be your own healing tool, which is why I just love that arena. Sound therapy is fantastic. And oops, I've lost track. There's some more comments there. I'm getting a bit slow here, but that was my intention. I wasn't going to rush through today. And I haven't rushed through last week. I was going to return back and do some cards for those who missed out on the cards. I'll still do that, but I don't sort of put a timeline on it. It'll happen, as all things do. So as far as with that question, Robin, yeah, go for it. Just that leap of faith, you'll jump and you'll find that you've actually landed on your feet, and it will be wonderful. So there's some comments there that I probably won't be putting up on the screen purely because not needed to. It's chats between yourselves, and that's where it's really good to have that interaction on here. I love reading it all, but because I'm the one doing this as a solo, it's not really. Yeah, do you want me to read them out? You know, it's that sort of thing. I won't. Alicia, with your question, will your test results come back good? I'm just getting a straight out yes for that. So stop worrying. Things, just let the breathing happen and it'll flow. It'll flow. Let the results just be what they are, and they are good. So you'll be happy with them. And, oh, that's nice. Thanks, Deb. And it does come back to that practice. Every time that you actually do a live, for instance, it is I mean, I've been doing them, which I looked back. Oh, I think it was 2010 that I was probably starting to just get into an interest in the live shows. And that was in a time where it was called Hangouts on Air through Google, that was working through YouTube. It was a whole learning curve on its own as well. And they weren't an easy platform to use at that time. So I went through the process and I helped co-host a particular show, Lights, Camera, Hangouts on Air. And that would have been 2012, was my first time on a live video where we were actually out. Probably then it was mainly to the US. So I'd actually be up in the middle of the night a lot of the time to learn all this stuff and be part of these live shows. So, you know, the interaction of that reach of the different I wouldn't say cultures, but it's interesting how different countries, even though there's quite a few that are English speaking, have the different nuances in what is cultural humour, or even just the words and what they mean. Can't think of them actually right at the moment, but they're there, and it's just so funny. But that's where I've gotten my practice from. None of what I do has been perfected. It's just, what's the point of being someone that you're not? I haven't gone down that path of, full on production studio style of lives, which a lot at that time had done. We're starting, even now, just with what my setup is here, 2 bedside lamps up there. I have got 2 cameras now because, as I've mentioned before, I want to do some show the cards without reflection, or artwork if I feel like doing that, or lace making, or whatever other thing I want to do that needs hands-free to be able to show you, and a second camera. That's my goal. And so that's where that's at right at the moment. Now, just reading a couple more back of the comments, and some of them are the chat amongst yourselves, which is good. It's fun reading it, actually. And I will just put this one up of what Leanne's put in there. So that was when I was talking about the agenda, because I was trying to get the thing up in the background. Leanne knows what I'm talking about. She's dozing and listening at the same time, talking about that agenda. Tried talking you through it, forgetting I'm not live with you. So you were doing that in the background as you're resting there. Good one, Leanne. I need the direct ESP line, I think, of having that help. Look, everything works out as it's meant to. So, and I like that one, Effie. Oh, hi, by the way. I don't think I've had you up already. So it's a vibration that you're listening to, exactly. I think that was in reference to the sound and things that I was talking about back then. Because I'm actually listing things that have been commented back at 10:57. So there's your 5-minute delay of when I'm seeing the comments, because I'm chatting and being slow getting the comments through. And also there is actually a time delay in what I see on my end to what you see on your end. So it's all technology. So it really is wonderful that we can actually interact like this. I can be chatting to you like I'm chatting to friends, which that's what I feel I am. I'm chatting to a bunch of friends, or even just one. Doesn't matter. There is more on here, so that's nice to see. I'm really enjoying this. And which psychic fair was that one, Robin? Oh, that's a question. That's a question that's to Leanne, I'm sure, because Leanne did do a psychic fair. And that's a fun thing, doing those. I've done the 3, 4 now, I think it is. Leanne might need to remind me, because I've actually been to, the ones that I've done has been where Leanne has been. This weekend at Mildura, there is a Miracle Psychic Fair at Mildura. And I have signed up for a space to be a reader at that one. It's a 2-day fair. So anyone that's in Mildura and watching this, or share it out, anyone watching this, I will be there as one of the readers. It's going to be the first time that I actually go to somewhere that far away as a reader. I haven't done that before, and I don't have anyone going along with me, because that's just how things have worked out. But I'm really excited at taking that step. Robin, you were talking about the leap of faith on a website going live. This will actually be the first time that I'm on my own, but I know that I'm not, because there's a growing network of people that I'm coming into being with and connecting. And all of that energy really does connect. It's all of those little webs. It's like the tree roots all around Mother Earth. There's communication that trees make with each other. We think that we're the only ones that communicate, that animals are the only ones that communicate. We're not. everything has its vibration that communicates. And that is part of what the shaman training world is. It's connecting vibrationally across different dimensions and other things as you learn. Not for here at the moment, but it's everything is connected, and the networks of the roots that go through the earth and all that is in Mother Earth, the whole lot of us are connected. And for us to deny that and have things happen that you just say, oh, don't worry about that, it's over there. Well, it does affect us. It affects us energetically. It actually affects us physically, because what becomes from energy and those energy bodies of every person, being, and thing, it affects, because we are global. We are part of the galaxy, part of the universe, of what is, the cosmos. So anyway, that's just me on saying that. With that connection, now I've forgotten what I was talking about. I knew that had happened. Let's just say I'm practicing for senior moments. I used to say that a lot. I'm just where I am at this point in time, and I forgot. Where was I up to? Leanne might be able to tell me or not. Somebody else might be able to tell me or not. It actually doesn't matter. We are all connected, and especially sometimes with how we actually share with our social media platforms like Facebook. And I forgot to check whether anyone's on my page making comments. No, because if they were, you need to be over on the mytimetv.live point. Just a reminder, it shows up somewhere there. And share it around. So with that connection, it is tuning in to our part in it. And that's part of the shaman stuff too. And it's part of just being normal people, humans. There's really, as far as putting labels on who we are and what we do and everything, it's just part of who we are. Do you feel like you need to have a label for everything? I know that many do. It's a safety net, being able to actually identify who and what we're being, who we're with. Sometimes it's just superfluous. Yeah. So I like that. Listening, sewing. I find myself too, one of the most freeing parts of doing these types of lives too, Robin. These, those little things, the AirPods, as much as they're actually quite a expensive item to me, they were, but they are such a freeing tool, because sometimes you can't just sit and watch a video that is like this when I'm not doing anything at the moment besides sitting and chatting with you. I need to look at a camera to actually communicate. Well, that's what they tell us. You do actually have to look at the camera. If I was doing it completely and utterly just looking at myself in the little video, monitoring what I'm doing, whether I've got my hair right, or whether I've, got a zit or something that I need to, oh, how gross. It's, that'd be just so absolutely totally off-putting. And I just realised as I'm doing that, I have actually just noted wrong side. Is that side better? But I can't see that because the monitor's over that way. I've only got one screen, so I can't look on two. I know someone who's actually got 4 monitors in how they do their lives, but his is a more professional style because he commentates and does other stuff with baseball in the US and etc. So it's all what's relevant for your purpose. So yeah, and I'm still catching up with the comments here. So, and I'm not going to be apologising for it because you know where we're at. So it's a great thing to actually take those leaps of faith, even when in doubt. And that's where I did touch on it as far as the being in tune into your body, into even your energy fields, and where you feel that our energy fields can be that far out, or they can be just so close in because we've closed ourselves up. there are ways and tools and means of setting that part of your beingness freer and free to be able to experience wider vibrations and discovering different ways. I mean, it's of connecting. It's all out there. You'll be attracted to the right people to actually show you how, if you need to be shown how, or just tune in yourself through meditation, or just sitting quietly in silence and waiting and listening for answers, or not waiting. It just depends how impatient you get. I know some people who can be very impatient. Others have the patience of a saint. It's just being who you are, honestly. So, and affirmation there, yes, we're all connected. Everything does have a vibration and energy. It's lovely having the, and here's Chantel. Hi, Chantel, you're listening and working at the same time. It's lovely to have you here as well. Robin, yes, we need to communicate and connect more in ways that are not just the one, not having just, well, you know, single narrow channels. Expand and explore, actually. And hi, Adair, how are you? And Yvonne, I'm still catching up. I'm up to 11:09 now, if I was keeping track. Well, I sort of am, and losing track. So with part of, where was I? I think it's because my initial question was, can we unlearn what we've learned? And that's why I was referencing the shamanism, because I think part of that in what my explorations have been over time in feeling, you know, at one point I did feel lost. I did feel like I was without direction, and yeah, a lot of that was to do with almost an empty nest syndrome. It was almost to do with, you know, a variety of things around that time. Kids were starting to grow up. What was I going to do? Husband always working at the time. He's now an ex. For no other reason than I changed my direction in life and what I wanted to be doing. Lovely man. You know, and all the different things that make up our own lives and the reasons what we feel we need, we're listening, and that comes up as part of the intuition. It's part of our own shamanism of what we have as our own vibrations. And taking that time to actually slow down and listen to that inner being, listening to ourself, our soul, you know, the S-O-U-L, that who we are, apart from just being in these bodies. And it really does take some practice to do that. I like that one, Effie. Learn, unlearn, relearn. Yeah, I think for me, I do feel it's unlearn. Well, we just change the way we believe what we've learnt. So, you know, they're all just words. What do you actually feel about your own experiences, really? And here I've got a question from Lauren. Hi, Lauren. Sometimes the important anniversaries, they do mean a lot to us. How to phrase that sometimes? Well, important anniversaries of deaths and birthdays. I mean, we celebrate so many different things, really. And it can be sometimes a sad thing to remember a death of persons around us, people around us. Right now, because I'm not sort of in that zone, for me, doing mediumship isn't quite as easy as how Leanne can click into it. You know, as far as that, trying to get across to me. I'm actually I do have my cards here. That's a tool that I do use, especially in these sorts of lines, because it's what I can connect into easily. So I'll just shuffle them. I'm using the Lenormand again, the expanded deck this time. And I'll just pull a card, see what comes up for you as a message. And the intent is, oh, whoops, Lauren, because it's such a big question, I'll just leave it down there. You know what you're right. The message from Grandpa. Oh, it's funny. Did he wear braces? See, my grandpa, actually both of them did. They were of the era that braces were the thing, especially as they became more in the older age group, because the trousers would fall down if they were trying to wear a belt. The tummies got rounder and rounder, and braces were the thing. I'm just seeing the braces. And the card I'm saying I've got is a compass. I don't know whether I can get that reflection out of it. And what I'm feeling around that message, compasses being a tool for direction, like his message to you is probably realign with your poles, as in your north and south pole. I'm feeling that I'm seeing sailing. When I used to sail, there's a way of checking which direction the wind is, and compasses are sort of similar with the magnetism of the earth. That's how they work. So realign yourself with the north-south, find your magnetism, find that direction. And it is a matter of settling in, steadying yourself and finding that balance of where actually, you know, if you put you lick your finger and you hold it up to the wind, you can actually feel the absolute direction that the wind is coming from. And I think it's a feeling like that I'm getting that you need to be doing, is to face directly into what is coming at you, like heading it off if it needs to be, or just lining up with it and facing it. And even in that, if it's something that's really powerful that's going to knock you over, you're facing it and you can actually redirect it if it needs to be. Or, you know, the stop, the whichever way you feel in that alignment that you're needing to deal with something, that you can do that it's where your direction of focus is, and not diverting it where, you know, half the time if you're not seeing it coming, you don't know how to face, you don't know how to avert, divert, deal with it. So that's what I'm actually getting from that. So as far as not actually tuning into your grandfather, that is the message that I'm getting. So, and we've got some more hellos there. So Jeanette, hi. And whoops, Ray, oh, how do you pronounce that? I presume it's Raywin. So hello to you too. So, and we've got, oh, there's Jeanette just asking as well, struggling with direction in the work. What I'm going to do is say, take the energy from that compass card that I just held up, that was for Lauren, and use that same technique. Have that way of working with your direction. I'm feeling the focus is just not there, because there's so many choices sitting in your own energy. And use that silence, that quiet space in yourself that just lets the first thing, just choose one, what comes to your mind first, and use that as your compass, focus on that. And then the next step, once that one's been dealt with, just take it the one step at a time, and practicing that as a method to use for working through those, what you feel is different directions. We can't go in all directions at once. It's impossible. It is, you know, what you're facing is the one that you're going to focus on. So face one, use that energy of silence, inner silence, to gauge where you feel that you need to be putting that first focus on. So hopefully it's a helpful way of doing that for you. Thank you. There's some readings being requested. It wasn't actually my plan to do a heap of readings today. It's funny, isn't it? Though, I mean, it's what I have found that I can do, It's something that I was denying for so long because it was suppressed from when I was a teenager. Good Christian homes and all the rest. You can't have those tarot cards floating around. You can't do all that. Yeah, it was redirected in religion. That's why I don't like to bring up religion as such. I did do lay preaching at one point. So, and Ray, when you would like to have a reading, well, what I might do is pull a card for you. And I know that when both Leanne and I are on, we do like to have a little more specific a question. It's easier to get through heaps. Leanne has a wonderful, loyal, devoted people following, and I think it's absolutely wonderful. Mine is growing. Thank you for being here and sharing it out. And isn't that gorgeous? So what you've got there, Rowan, is this one. Now, whoops, I'm just going to show that again because this is for you, Rowan. Dog does mean loyalty. As you know, I don't read from the guidebook, but I do know that that's dog. The dog is about loyalty, friendship, and being ready. That's what I'm feeling it is, being ready to accept help or friendship as much as also giving it as a loyal friend. We do stand by people who we are friends with. We do have people stand by us. We need to remember we do have support networks around us. And if you actually feel like that there is a lostness around, I don't have many friends, we do have ourselves to be our own friend. And that's who we need to be actually connecting with first, that inner child, that higher self, the soul, and making friends with ourselves first, being loyal to ourselves and not forgetting that part of the connection that we have, because we're all interconnected. And I think I just had these things go say, I'm going flat. It's probably about right. I think you can still hear me. Well, if you can't hear me, it means that the microphone's connected to these. I've actually got another microphone that should be the one that's being accessed. These are just my speaker. So once I don't need to hear you guys, so it doesn't matter. Yeah, it doesn't matter, does it? So thank you. Thank you, Raven. I am assuming I pronounced your name right. And just going back to some because Jeanette's struggling with the direction. Oh, yeah, so I haven't answered that. Yes, too much in my head. It is. That's why I experience the same myself. So that's why I can suggest from my own experience sitting in that silent space. And if you find that hard, it's taking 2 or 3 deep breaths. Just sit yourself in a comfortable space. Take 2 or 3 deep breaths. And each time you're breathing in, you're consciously thinking of the breath going in, little oxygen molecules. Think on them, going in and reaching out to all the cells. And as you exhale, it's taking all that carbon dioxide out. And each time you're doing those few deep breaths, you're exhaling, you're just dropping your shoulders, let them drop. And you're sitting in the space. And I find that, and it has taken practice again. It has taken practice and I can go into that sort of Zen space very quickly because it's just, I let the shoulders just drop on the third and it's just total silence and I'm connecting within. It happens. You'll get there. It does happen. And that's where that inner conversation with yourself, that getting to be friends with yourself happens that way as well as at that conscious level where, once I go outside this office door to go and get a drink of water or something else for my day to continue onward today even, I'm not going to go and beat myself up about anything I might have mucked up on here today or, what's everybody going to think of me because I didn't do something right. It's just that, why do that? It's no purpose to anybody. It's no, do any of you really care about that side of what I'm thinking? No, because that's just, don't worry about what other people think. It's purposeless. It's just being yourself, thinking, there's too much in your head, but it can be focused. What comes up as the first one when you start to, let the shoulders go, and there's, I need to actually write that piece of an article. I'll work on that. If you're doing something, writing wise, or, it's washing time. Just do the one step at a time little thing. You can take the picture, instant snap, go and do it. I mean, that's if time allows. If you do have to have something urgent that needs doing, you do that, of course. But it's that focus, allowing the focus to be on one thing. I don't believe we can multi-purpose at all. It's spreading ourselves too thin where we get nothing done. I still have to practice that because I get distracted too easily on the internet. Ask any of those around me. You went wandering off down the rabbit holes on Facebook again, or on Twitch, because some of my stuff I'm going to be doing on Twitch as well, which is the other part of the BeLive connection. BeLive feeds into Facebook. That's what it's designed for, and Twitch. So I'm going to try both. I'll be discovering whether I'm cutting myself too thin or not. But for focus right now, it's with you guys, because you're here either sitting watching or you're doing other stuff and listening, because that's what the technology allows us to do. And at the moment, there's not the interaction with Leanne, but that's another program next week, or with somebody else as a new guest on another show that might pop up. Which, by the way, I'm planning and hoping that I can connect with a special friend to be able to do a show on Thursday. Didn't happen last Thursday because of all that Facebook hoo-ha and, the technology glitch and going down and everything. It didn't work out. So that's one of the things that I've got coming up. There's always growth and development in our practice too. That's what it's for. Practice. It's not just to make perfect what is perfection. It's more so for our growth, for our expansion, for our learning on even redirecting and finding something different that, I might not be needing to do this, I might be needing to do that. And changing a pathway, nothing wrong with that. There's no negative, positive about that. It's listening and tuning in. And that was, did I go to, I'm not sure whether I even answered that one. How should I go forward in my life? Anna, it's one step at a time. I'll just see if I can quickly do a card for you as well. It might give you just a little bit of an assistance with it. It was fun doing, over the long weekend with a friend, we went through the Lenormand deck. For those who haven't caught up with that, we went through the Lenormand deck practicing a grand tableau. I'd never done one, so there was a bit of YouTube searching, Googling and all the rest, and there wasn't much on it in the little guidebooks to do with these actual decks, but it was really good fun, and it does remind us that anything's possible, and any interpretation of cards is going to be different for every person. So what I'm going to be giving you, and I think that was, whoops, I've lost the thread on the thing. That was Anna, wasn't it? So that was that question I was on. So here's your card, and it's to do with clouds. And I'll drop that down now. So direction, for me, the clouds do mean moving from the darkness into the light. It can mean the silver lining in the clouds. If you feel things have been heavy lately, that there's going to be, the light is shining through, and the bird's there just to me indicate freedom and being able to move on from it. And whatever the potential is in those clouds, we don't have cloudy days all the time. There is sunshine and blue skies. So it's just depending on what's around you, what's happening at the time now, as to what that's going to mean for you. Ultimately, I do think that we each ourselves are the best interpreters of what tools we use. So I'm just a helper guiding through the use of the cards, through what I'm getting as an intuitive or psychic or medium or whatever term. We all have different talents and different ways of seeing, hearing, sensing. you yourself do. It's just needing the practice to actually put it into that silent space, doing the breathing, doing whatever you need to, that you're actually hearing. But it's also the difference between hearing something and listening, and knowing that difference and using that difference that we're learning by listening. Listening for those answers we're getting back, listening for what messages we're getting. And it's listening isn't always just the hearing, it's the vibration, it's the sensing, and all the things that is. So thank you. There we go. Now, probably need to start to wind up a bit. It's my computer's starting to show like it is 11:30 on my computer. I love this comment. Thank you, Christine. A beautiful accent. Greetings from Canada. I would love to hear what you feel around me. Well, at the moment now, because it is getting a bit past, just on past the hour, I don't like taking much more time than an hour. So I'll just pull the one for you, Christina. And maybe I can see AJ Katie Cooper as a comment above yours too, and they might need to be the last ones for this. Hi, Heather Louise. I can see your comment there too. So just pulling the card, and this will be it. And that is the Storks. And, oops, hang on. Okay, 17. That it, rather than being storks, babies, and the rest, it actually means more set out moving, and you know, it's nesting, it's creating new space. It's so that's what I'm feeling there. I'm actually looking more towards, and I don't know why, I think there's a bit more of a solid foundation happening. That's where my eye's going. But what I'm suggesting for you, Christina, is actually really focus in on that image, and where your eye goes first, that's what it's going to mean most for you. What do you feel on that inner sense of you? And I'll just do one for AJ. Hopefully that's helpful for you there, Christina. Because it's one of the things with this type of a live show, you can't really spend a great deal of time focusing on one person or two people. It is a bit rushed. As I'm doing this, even now I'm feeling the energy speeding up a bit. So this one's for you, AJ. If you need further readings, I mean, I've got a booking thing, a booking system thing, even just to buy me a coffee on my page, Hypnosis Plus with Roz Fish. And that's for you, AJ. Okay. And fish actually does mean abundance and plenty. So I'd say in answer to, will your partner's finance be better this year? Yes. So that's a good, quick way of doing a reading, and especially using the Lenormand. I like it for that reason. Quick, easy. You've been specific in how you've asked your question. Good stuff. Thank you. Now, I'll leave it at there, so I'll just mark it that. Thank you to Lauren, and thank you, Adair. Oh, look, I've just got to put that up. That music thing there above my head. I like that because it does remind me, I do have a love of music, but not so much the listening to other people's creations, although I don't mind that. You know, people will ask, you know, say, oh, gee, I really like that band, blah, blah, blah. Do you remember those words when they start singing songs and what was it called and the rest? I have no idea. It's not something I did when I was a kid, even as an adult. You know, I went to church, Sunday school, church and all the rest. So hymns I'm pretty familiar with in the Methodist Uniting Church tradition. And I'm familiar with the types of songs that were running around in the 70s, 80s era. Past that, no, I can't name them. I don't remember the words. I love creating my own sounds, and it's why I really, it's hard to explain the feeling that it actually gives you within when it's with conscious thought of the healing process that sound can create within your own body, because I've had that as my own experience. So it's all wonderful stuff. Vibrational work, shamanism, all the different types of things that we can learn, the hypnotherapy, all that what my experiences have been. I've loved the process. I've loved doing the learning. I've loved the practice and still continue to do that. And it's something that I hope everybody can experience for themselves, the joy in learning. And can we unlearn something that we've learned? I'll put that back up. Did it show up? That's not showing up. I've got a title thing at the bottom. I think I must have to actually retype it from the look of it, so I'm not going to. I've already gone 5 minutes over. So thank you very much for being part of my show today, in the conversation and in the questions that you've asked, and any that I haven't answered, done a reading for, pulled a card. I will endeavour to go back over last week's and this week's to actually give you a card. If you want more in-depth readings, my link is in the show note description, the description that shows up above. It's at Hypnosis with Roz. As far as my Facebook page, there is links to bookings and stuff like that on that page. Leanne has hers as well. If you're wanting to book in with Leanne, that's still in the description area. So be guided and led to whoever you're feeling guided to. Your spirit guides, your inner being will show you who you need to be connecting with if you want further help and readings. So thank you, Adair, and any others for next week. It will be the same time, with technology hopefully behaving well, which it does, doesn't it? So wherever you are in the world, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, and anything in between. So we'll see you next time. Bye for now.